Okay, hey ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? I am back with another video. This time I'm going to cover the final changes for Morrowind. Now, if you've been watching my other videos, if you've been diligent and you've been really paying attention to all of them, most of this is going to be old news. If you've been keeping up, that's fine. If you haven't been keeping up, that's fine too. I'm just going to try and quickly do a brief overview of everything they're doing from a PvP combat perspective. For those of us that don't have Morrowind yet, those of us on PlayStation and Xbox, obviously the PC guys, they have Morrowind right now. If you want to go check out the gameplay for yourself, there are a lot of streamers out there on Twitch streaming their gameplay on Battlegrounds in PvP, etc. You get to kind of see, you know, resource sustain the way it's going to be. So I just want to discuss what they say the changes are, so that you guys are informed, you guys have the information, and you guys can adjust builds to your preferences. Now, I'm not going to say that without diving into the skill or into battlegrounds, into PvP, and seeing like what the changes are like as they play out. I can't say definitively what's going to be best personally. Like I won't know until I test, and I can't test until I get battlegrounds, and they decide that Xbox doesn't get it until after PC, which is fine. But for example, like Radiant Aura, as an example, Radiant Aura I thought was going to be a very, very strong skill for Templars, and in PvE it is very strong. However, in PvP it's not as strong of an individual skill as it is like a group skill. Like one person running Radiant Aura is very valuable. Running around solo with Radiant Aura, not as valuable. So, you know, until we tested it, I didn't know for sure. That's going to apply to this in a lot of these situations. Some of the stuff is going to be glaringly obvious, like what's good and what's not. Anyways, let's dive into it. Combat and gameplay. Combat in ESO is and always has been about fast-paced action where resource management plays a large part in performing effectively. Player abilities in ESO specifically do not have cooldowns for this very reason. Resource management is key and is a core pillar of the system. Due to the number of balance changes we have made over time, this core pillar of resource management has become minimized. It's become easier than ever to have high sustainability while being fully maximized for damage. That is 100% true. Um, you know, if you guys are listening to this, you guys, maybe you know me in the game, maybe you don't, whatever. But in general, I like to duel quite a bit, and my thoughts on dueling, like I wouldn't go to the duel spot and I wouldn't duel everybody. I would go there and I would sit for 20 minutes and I would watch everybody else duel. And the guy that was beating everybody, that's the guy that I wanted to duel. Because I don't care about, you know, beating somebody that's kind of a novice or whatever. I always wanted to challenge myself and duel like the best players that were there. And if I saw somebody, I would challenge them, or look forward to fighting them. And this last patch, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but it's gotten to a point to where the best players, all you have to do to not die is just to turtle up. Like literally every single class, they can just turtle up and heal, or they can turtle up and cloak, and it's just too easy to just not die. And so I'm dueling my buddies who are very good duelers. I play with some friends that are, you know, they win a lot more duels than they lose in general, and they duel a lot. And I'm coming out with new setups. I'm trying to fight them, and all we do is draw. Like we're both playing very well. I can tell that they're playing well. I'm playing well. I'm healing well, and we just can't kill each other because we have unlimited sustain, and we just can heal through everything that we're hitting at each other, and it's silly. And that's why they're doing no CP for battlegrounds, because if they brought this to Morrowind and they brought team deathmatch and like a group of four reactive Templars went in there with sword and board and then Destro ults, and they just stacked Destro ults, that's not fun. That's not creative gameplay, and that's not the only class that can do it. Four stam like block casting stam DKs could do the exact same thing. If you put four gank stam Nightblades with high burst abilities that can just go in and shadow image and get out and like really focus a target, that's not fun either. Like there's no counterplay to some of these setups. It's just I'm gonna hit really freaking hard, and I'm gonna have unlimited sustain, and like they needed to do something to this, and all these changes I feel like in general are really good. So that's going to be my long-winded rant cut short. I think most of the stuff is very good. Um, as I said before, reduce the cooldown for being charged stamina or magicka to block an attack 0.25 seconds from 0.5 seconds. So they doubled the block cost of a character. So you can still be tanky, you can still block, you can still do all of that, but you're going to eat your stamina a lot more quickly by having this. And this is very important because right now there are a few classes that can just literally almost they can perma block right now. And when you stack that with a healer with 100 points and a blessed where their healing's really good and they have guard and all this stuff, it's really hard to even kill like two people. It's a broken mechanic. It's not very good. There's no fun counterplay. It's just this is really strong, and this is too strong, and so this is a good change. Sneak attacks no longer grant a critical damage when used against a critical damage bonus when used against other players. That's a good change. Sneak attacks will continue to guarantee a critical strike and stun the target. That is not a good change. I still don't think that's a good idea. The stun is the biggest problem with ganks from stealth, and it's only stamina that does it. Magicka Nightblades that do heavy attacks do not stun targets. So why is stamina doing this but not Magicka? It doesn't make any sense. Take this out, please. Please take this out. Nobody wants to be stunned because they're hit from stealth. Will also grant a bonus to critical damage when used against monsters. Whatever. Roll dodge now grants a 2-second immunity and mobilization after the roll is complete. This is an amazing change. I was actually fighting a couple days ago, and I was on my Stam Sork, and we're fighting like 4 on 12, and there was two Sorks running in case, and so we got hit with 4 negates and like 3 Destro ultis by this group of 12 people, and every time I dodge rolled, I popped up in case. Every single time. There's nothing I could do about it. It was dodge roll in case, dodge roll in case, dodge roll in case. It happened 3 times. And there's nothing I can do. There's really no counterplay. It was just like literally, okay, well, you're 12 on 4. Here's 4. You're outnumbered 3-1. Here's a shit ton of ultimates you can't do anything about because of this mechanic. Great change that they did this for everybody. Stamina abilities are now universally 15% cheaper than their magic counterparts, originally being 20% cheaper, so this is a nerf to stamina classes. Small nerf, but still a nerf nonetheless. This includes class abilities that morph into stamina abilities in addition to weapon skill line passes, which reduce their abilities in that skill line. So for a while, most stamina classes are a lot more bursted than Magicka because of like how they can sustain. This now drops them in line with Magicka as far as burst goes, a little bit better, which is good. Like Dawnbreaker and Incap are both stamina abilities, and they hit way harder than any Magicka class ultimate that is that cheap. Like, yeah, they have Destro Ult, and yeah, they have Meteor, but Meteor and Destro Ult are twice the cost. Obviously, Destro Ult's the strongest ultimate in the game. They still need to address that, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a good change in general for balance. They can still address Destro Ult and address this. So this is still a good change. Still need to fix Destro Ult, but I like that. Experience boosting consumable items. Fix an issue we're ranking. Okay, whatever. We don't care about that. We don't care about pets. Okay. Increase the damage of light attacks by 15%. Decrease the damage of heavy attacks by 15%. I don't understand why they had to decrease the damage of a heavy attack. They are a heavy attack. The resource gain was good. Reduce the cast time of fully charged heavy attacks. That's good. Like, all this is good except for this right here. I don't see the point. If you charge a full heavy attack, you should get more resources back, and you should hit harder. Why are you nerfing? Whatever. most of these in general, these changes, a solid B for changes. These are all good changes. They're addressing the sustain issue by allowing you to be able to sustain better by being able to light attack or medium attack or heavy attack weave. This is providing skilled gameplay into the game. And yeah, like a lot of you guys are going to go, well, weaving isn't skilled gameplay. There are a lot of players that don't weave, and allowing the ability to do this is going to allow players that know what they're doing to stack a little bit more into damage than players that don't know what they're doing. And that is better than a one-button skill. I like these changes a lot. This is way better than just stacking Destro ultis and negate. Like have one person push negate, have another person push Destro ulti, and have another person go in with healing ultimate. Like this is actually like a step in the right direction towards skilled gameplay, in my opinion. All right. I didn't see this one, and this is actually why I wanted to make this video. Fully charged heavy attacks no longer restore resources if attack is dodged or blocked. That is an amazing change. I've been looking at like heavy attack builds on a few of my characters, like my Magicka DK. I've been running a sword and board for a long time, thinking about going Destro Ultimate. And I've been thinking like, hey, I'm going to do heavy attacks with molten weapons. I'm going to hit 40% harder. I'm going to return a bunch of resources, hit like a truck. I'm going to just destroy people, have infinite sustain due to this, yada, yada, yada. This now allows people to counterplay heavy attack builds. Because heavy attacks take so long to wind up. If you don't want them to get resources back, you just block the heavy attack or you dodge roll it. That's amazing. That is an amazing change. And they didn't allow you to abuse this change by being able to block everything. If you see a heavy attack coming at you, you can choose to block this. You can choose to block this one attack. They don't get their resources back. And they can't sustain off it anymore. This is a great change for counterplay. I really like this a lot. That is great. Increase the bonus damage done to off-balance targets, the heavy attack, to 70% from 45%. Alright, this is going to go in line with Magicka DKs, off balance with Talons, Crushing Shock interrupts, all this other stuff. Like the change is meant to offset a reduction to heavy attack damage. The total damage bonus when used the heavy attack to exploit an off balance enemy should remain the same. So if you hit somebody off balance, you now get a bigger counterplay to hitting them off balance. This is good. This is good. This is skilled gameplay. Like if somebody's hitting you with, they're hard casting a frag or they're hitting you with a dark flare, you can now punish them for not choosing their spot correctly to hit you with a hard casted ability. If they spam Radiant, you can interrupt them and hit them 70% harder. This is a really good change. This brings counterplay. If you're going to use a cast time, if you're going to use a summon ability, you have to be careful. You're going to get punished for it. And that's good. I think that's really good. Fix an issue where shock and restoration staff attacks will continue channeling on a target that broke your line of sight. Good. Fix an issue where summon pets were not being affected by the healing reduction of battle spirit. Yep, that pet healing is crazy right now. They will now all receive 50% less healing in PvP areas. Pets now persist when you change zones. Okay. Fixed an issue where consuming a potion of magic stamina or health would not correctly refresh the effect duration for the major. Okay. Minor magic steal reduced the amount of magic of this debuff restores to the attacker from 400 magicka. It was a pretty strong buff. But that's more of a PvE buff than a PvP. Still a very useful skill in my opinion. Dragon Knight, Ardent Flame. Fiery Grip reduced cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 7%. I don't see many people using chains. I don't think that's a huge difference. This skill needs a rework, in my opinion, in general. Don't think it's very good. Inferno reduced the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 33%. That's a good change. I think this is a very good change. In general, Magicka DK's sustain isn't very good right now, because their cost of abilities is so high, and so reducing their cost of abilities to be more in line with everybody else just makes sense. Because currently, like the main reason Magicka DK sucks in open world is because you have to stack so much into recovery to make up for the fact that you can't sustain as well as other classes. And because of that, you don't hit as hard, and because of that, you don't have as much burst, and PvP is all about burst. And so these are good changes to bring them in line with everybody else. Reduce cost of Lava Whip, that's great. Reduce cost here, reduce cost of Spiked Armor. All these are good changes, great changes. Battle Roar. This passive ability now restores an equal amount of health, magic, or stamina when you use an ultimate ability, and the amounts are now based on your character level instead of your max resource. This will be a buff for each particular resource. It's still a dumb way to write this, but whatever. They want to nerf some of the sustain in general for the max stamina abilities. You know, I do agree that there is some wiggle room for stamina classes. Like, you know, as a Stam DK, I can run 500 stamina recovery. And if I'm a red guard and I have Igneous and I'm running Hulking Draugr and I have a ton of max stamina, it doesn't matter. You know, I have so much sustain off those returns that there definitely is, there's a medium ground for being able to sustain better with compared to some of the other classes. You know, I do agree with that. I do agree that an adjustment will be needed. However, I'll just have to see how it plays out, because this Battle Roar change, the Red Guard change, like, they hit him in a bunch of different ways, and they hit stamina in a bunch of different ways. And it just seems like it might be a little bit too much, but we'll have to see. Nightblade Assassinate Deathstroke. Fix an issue where this ability in the Soul Harvest morphs is being mitigated off target's physical resistance. Okay. Grim Focus. You can now fire multiple assassins. Well, this is a great change for Nightblade. I love this change. I really do think that this change right here is going to make Nightblades, like Magic and Nightblades especially, a lot better in PvP, like in Battlegrounds and stuff. This is such a great change. Being able to not have to constantly rebuff your assassins, your Grim Focus or Merciless for your Assassin's Will. That awesome change. Well done. Shadow Barrier. This is a huge change for medium armor Nightblades. They now get a major ward and major resolve 50% more of the time than they currently do. That's part of the reason why I went heavy, is because I basically have major ward and major resolve up all the time when I'm fighting, when I'm in heavy. This makes me kind of want to go to medium, to be honest, because then I have this passively almost all the time. I can run 5 medium and 2 heavy, and then basically I have this up for like 8 seconds. Yeah, I think it's going to be 8 seconds. I think it's 1 second for each piece of heavy armor. So 8 seconds of major resolve and major ward while having this. This is a really cool change. Good buff for Nightblades. Not enough to make it super overpowered, but enough to make them a little bit stronger from a resistance perspective. I think that's a good change. Shadow Cloak fixed an issue where the visibility from this ability and its morphs was being broken by numerous abilities, including Reflective for Light, Silver Shards, Burning Towns, Damage over time effect. Yep, I think Cloak is basically permanently fucked. We'll see if they ever fix this again, but I'd rather have it be the way it is now than the way it was a year ago, to where basically you could literally cloak anything. That wasn't fun for anybody. Having Nightblades be able to get out by pushing one button is not good gameplay. I'd rather have it being broken the way it currently is, like I said, the way it currently is, than have it be the way it was. So, slow, methodical changes to get that in line to where it's supposed to be is good. I think that's a good change. Hopefully it gets fixed to where it should be where it's at, and we can see if it's OP or not. You know, that'd be a good change. Shadow Image. Fix an issue where the pet summoned by this morph was not critically striking. Okay, if Shadow Image doesn't hit hard, who cares? Like, really, who cares? Twisting Path. This is a huge change. 11% damage increase is a lot. Like, this is a huge change. This is already hitting pretty hard. This puts Nightblades more in line. A lot of Nightblades in PvP aren't running this skill because it's just a path. It's like Wall of Elements. You know, you can get out of it pretty easily. But this is getting to the point to where now this is so strong, it might make it on its bar for my Magic and Nightblade. You know, it's hitting a lot harder. It gives you major expedition. You could put it in a corridor. You can then cripple somebody, like somebody comes through a door. You put your twisting path, then you hit them with a cripple. Now they're stuck in both those dots. Like this has a lot of uses, especially now that it's going to hit harder. Um, I'm not saying it's like a must-have. Like Swallow Soul or like Surprise Attack or Concealed Weapon, depending on your build. Like, I'm not saying it has to be on your bar, but the more skills that are useful to where they can fit on your bar, the better. And in general, this skill was not a PvP skill. It didn't hit hard enough, too small of an area. It wasn't worth it. This might be worth it now. We'll have to see. Siphoning. This morph now converts the ability into stamina ability. Okay, so they did the 3 changes. The siphoning changes are all very good. I like those a lot. The way they did it is, okay, so you have your 3 changes here. This ability now causes your light and heavy attacks to restore health instead of magic or stamina. Increase the duration of this ability. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by 50%. Recasting this ability or its morphs will now always retrigger the ending resource restore. So, what this means is if you have a stamina restore and you can't weave well, like you're on the defensive or whatever, and you need stamina, you can recast this ability and you get a burst stamina return. So you don't have to be weaving to get the value out of this. You can just recast it, get the return that you're supposed to get from it. Like a Dark Deal or whatever. Oftentimes on my Magic and Nightblade, I was running Siphoning. I couldn't utilize Siphoning because I had 4 people beating on me and I'm just stacking wards. I can't weave when I'm stacking wards. I'm trying to stay alive at that point. And now I'm out of Magicka and then I'm dead. Now with this, it allows me to sustain a little bit better if I have the skill on my bar. I think this is a very good change. I like it a lot. Crystal Fragment change, 20% proc damage down to 10%. That's very good. Sorks are the hardest hitting class in the game in PvE. That also applies to PvP. Good change. Dark Exchange, taking a little bit longer to cast. That's good. I don't know if it's fast enough. I'd rather see it, the way that it currently is than have it be too much and go off people's bars. If it's still not enough to be interrupted, add another 0.2 seconds or whatever. Just wait and see for this. That's okay. But currently the way it is, like stamina classes, they don't interrupt my Dark Deal at all. It's just Crushing Shock classes that interrupt this right now. Daedric Summoning, fix an issue with its Morph's heal ability, could heal through walls, that's not good. Reduce the damage done by this Morph's special ability by 20%. That is a great change. Volatile Familiar is hitting really hard. The amount of area effect damage sorcerers currently put out is too high. Yes, so reducing the effectiveness of this ability will bring them more in line with other classes. 20% is a lot for this one skill, but they're still going to be hitting very hard, I've been seeing a lot of pet built Sorks in Imperial City running Wall of Elements, pets, Lightning Staff, everything for killing bosses, and it's a huge pain in the ass because they hit really hard, and then you have 3 of them, and they all have pets out, and it's 6 pets, it's 3 Sorks, they're all heavy attacking, and they all have walls down, and they melt, it's tough to deal with. This is a good change. Templar, Blazing Shield, reduce the amount of damage done by this morph to 33, 36, 39, 42, the damage absorbed by the shield to 51, from 51, 52, 53. Okay, so they got a 10% damage reduction. Not a big deal. In general, Blazing Shield builds, this is a really cool skill from them. They bring them down a little bit, that's fine. But most Blazing Shield builds weren't very good. You can just drain their stamina so easily. The ones that hit really, really hard didn't matter. You just CC them a few times, and you hit them with a bunch of abilities. They can't heal, they can't survive, they're dead. It wasn't a big deal. But very unique build, very, very useful in some situations. Yeah, it's whatever. Honestly, I always thought Blazing Shield was kind of useless, but to each their own. Kind of sucks here for Blazing Shield builds in general to have their damage reduced. Blazing Spear. This morph now increases the damage over time by approximately 30% as a morph effect. That is a really large damage over time effect. No longer stuns, but it's a lot of damage. That's a 30% is a lot, and it can proc Burning Light, so very useful skill. Luminous Shards. This morph now causes the synergy to always restore Magicka and Stamina. It restores the current value of Magic or Stamina to your highest maximum, and half of that at the opposite resource. Still a great change. Like I thought both these changes were great. Would have preferred a stun through block, but that's fine if things are working the way they currently are and they want something a little bit different. These are very useful skills for different reasons. Great changes, Sauce. Well done. Piercing Javelin, increase the knockback range of this ability. It's morphs by 8 meters from 5 meters. Hopefully they fix what this knockback does. Hopefully they fix the knockback in general. I think this is kind of a cool change, but at the same time, I can't tell you how many times I've been hit by this Javelin, and it's literally like I get hit, I CC break, and I roll across the ground. And like I'm just kind of rolling, and I can't get up, I can't heal, and I can't do anything, and then I'm dead. Like I was dueling this Stamplar, good 2 or 3 minutes, and just as an example, good fight. He avoided some of my burst damage. He healed up. He was playing very well. It was a really good fight. Really good fight. Wasn't mad at all. But he hit me with a javelin, and I got knocked on the ground, and I couldn't get up for 3 seconds because I was rolling across the ground. And then he hit me with a Dawnbreaker, and then he jabbed me while I was on the ground, unable to pull wards up. And it was just one of those fights where it's like, I CC broke. I had the stamina to CC break. I clearly was. I was just rolling across the ground. And I'm sure everybody's experienced that. It's just, I'm a little concerned that this 8-meter knockback is going to increase the duration of that roll on the ground effect. And hopefully that's fixed. I'm not saying that this is a bad change, but that's my concern, is that roll on the ground, like, oh yeah, like I got knocked down and now I'm stumbling, like what the fuck do I do? Like, hopefully they fix that, because that shit's frustrating, because there's nothing you can do about it. You CC break, you're supposed to get up right away, and you can't, and it's unfortunate. Spear Shard, synergy from this ability. Its morphs now restores Stamina or Magicka, whichever pool is larger. Okay, they already said that. Dawn's Wrath, fix an issue where this damage, final damage up by this ability. Its morphs is not respecting its damage limit while used against damage shields. Okay, so they nerfed the amount it does against damage shields. I did notice it was hitting really hard against shields, so it's good. Eclipse. This ability and its morphs now lasts for 3.5 seconds, down from 6 seconds, but can no longer be removed with Break Free. After the effect ends, enemies will gain CC immunity. I don't like that change at all. The one morph does damage. I've talked about it before. That's not a good change at all. 3.5 seconds you get free CC immunity for doing damage. Doesn't make any sense. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 20%. That's a good change. This free CC immunity is dumb. This skill is going to be useless for most players. Like, why? Why? This ability now applies major maim instead of reducing the target's damage by 30%. Okay. Good to know. So they applied a buff to it so you can't stack them. Decrease the time it takes for the Nova to land for this ability. It's more from 0.5 seconds from 0.75. Okay, that's a good change. Power of the Light. Fix an issue where the damage from this morph could be dodged. Okay, so now you have to block it just like everything else. Purifying Light. Fix an issue where the heal from this morph could not critically strike. Okay, so it's going to heal a little bit better depending on the class. Oh, just better in general. Nerfed healing. Repentance change. It's whatever. I'm not a huge fan of the Templar repentance changes in general because it only applies to one person. Now it restores health and stamina based on your character level instead of your max resource. It also only restores stamina to the casting Templar, but continues to restore health to the casting Templar and his allies. I don't like this change a lot. I don't like this change at all. Like, what if you're trying to play with two? What if you're a Stamplar and you're playing with your buddy that's a Stamplar, and you guys are just mowing through people, only one of you gets to use repentance for the stamina sustain. That doesn't make any sense. This seems like more of a PvE change and than PvP. Like in PvP, only one of you gets to use this. That's silly. I don't like that at all. Rite of Passage. This ability now grants caster major protection for 10 seconds at rank 4. Wow. Instead of it giving allies 20% damage reduction. That's a good change. So you get major protection, but you don't give everybody else a damage reduction. That is a good change. Wow. I don't think I've seen this before. That is a huge change. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure Rite of Passage is the healing ultimate, and right now, healing ultimate is just really freaking strong. And I was actually fighting like a 12-man group 2 days ago, and they were all Argonian Templars running healing ultis, and it was a huge pain in the ass, to say the least. 20% damage reduction, sorry, is very, very good. Sorry. I'm just really excited about these healing changes in general, because I think they're very good. I think maybe they need to do a few things. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that is healing ultimate. That is a great change, amazing change, Thas. That you protect the guy healing them so they can keep healing, but now they don't just make everybody instantly tanky. They still get healing, but they can still die. That's awesome. Well done. Rush Ceremony. Fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs would occasionally not display their full animation. This ability and its morphs now heal friendly targets, and that is an amazing change. I still love that. Sacred Ground. This passive ability now grants minor mending instead of major mending. They change everything. Basically, nobody's getting major mending except for like a Magic DK. That's great change. Cleave. Increase the damage over time of this ability and its morphs by approximately 16%. I don't know if this is good enough. I'm going to have to go look at the tooltips on my Cleave for my Master Sword. But this is getting to a point to where this might actually be useful. Cleave sucks right now, and there's no point in having useless skills. Cleave is currently useless in PvE and PvP. They need to buff this. This might be enough. It might need a little bit more. We'll have to see. Forceful. This passive ability now deals splash damage to 3 targets, up from 2. Splash damage has been increased from 25 to 50%, so this is a huge increase in splash damage for a two-handed ability. They want to make it like Lightning Staff. I just don't know. There's no need to have splash damage. That's what dual wield is for. Like, if you want splash damage, you run dual wield. Like, two-handers should hit harder. In my opinion, two-handers should hit harder like on single target. Because you have a big two-handed club. And you're swinging this, and it should hit really hard. Whereas like a dual wield, it's like you're kind of faster. It's faster. You're quicker with your abilities. Maybe it doesn't hit as hard, but you can apply more stuff more quickly. So I feel like dual wield should be more AoE, and two-handers should be like just sheer brunt force, clubbing somebody. But whatever. If this is what they want to do, it's fine. It's kind of like the frost damage, the frost staff blocking stuff. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. They're just throwing something on a skill line that doesn't make any sense. But Blade Cloak. Increase the area of effect damage reduction of its abilities and its morphs from 25% from 20%. This is already a very useful skill. It's going to be more useful. Cool. Twin Slashes. Increase the cost of the abilities and morphs by approximately 60%. Still a very useful skill. It heals you. It does good damage. 60% is not a big deal. It was a cheap skill. Whatever. Trifocus's passive splash damage with lightning staffs is no longer increased by damage modifiers. Okay, that's good. Heavy attacks now automatically fire when they're fully charged. If you guys haven't seen Speez's video on this, it's very funny. Seems like a poor fix, in my opinion. Currently, like with my bow, when I charge up a heavy attack, if they get out of range, I'm stuck there holding it, and I have to like randomly animation cancel out of it a few times, and it sucks. This is just like preventing you from being stuck in that. I don't know. It just seems very. I don't think it's very good, but whatever. Updated the visual effects in this ability. Okay, whatever. Volley. Increased the cost of this ability and Smorfs by approximately 30%. Still going to be valuable. Fixed an issue where this ability and Smorfs were not lasting for their full duration, causing you to miss out on 2 ticks of damage. Okay. Wow, there's a lot. I'm just going through it all now. They reduced the cost of your magic abilities by 1 to 2% instead of 2 to 3, so 50% reduction in reduced cost. Light armor gets a nerf. Medium armor gets a nerf. Heavy armor gets a nerf. So 50% cost reduction nerf for light armor, 50% for medium armor, constitution 42%. This is why I think heavy armor is still going to be valuable next patch. It was nerfed, just not as much as the other two. So, yeah. That's just my assessment. I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll see. Shatter Soul Assault Morph. Fixed an issue where the rank 4 of this morph could be removed by Purge. It's a good change. Okay, Werewolf. Dawnbreaker. Fixed an issue where the damage from this ability and its morphs is being mitigated off the target spell. Okay, that's a good change. Radiant Mage Light. This morph no longer passively reduces your damage taken by sneak attacks. It continues to passively prevent the stun from sneak attacks. Very good change. The 50% reduction was way too much. Way too much. They could have met in the middle ground, but they decided to end it completely. This reduce not ability to stun is good. Yeah. Vigor. This is a huge nerf to stamina classes. Huge nerf. Another reason why I kind of want to go to heavy armor. You heal less in heavy because your healing received is better. You take less damage. With this increased cost, you won't have to cast Vigor as much. That might make it better. Just my opinion. We'll see. Caltrops. Multiple players can now stack this ability and its morphs in the same area and damage the same target. Kind of a PvE change, but PvP can do the same thing. Reduce the size of this ability and its morphs to 8 meters from 12 meters. They narrowed it down quite a bit. That's a good change since they're allowing it to stack. Reduce the duration of its ability and its morphs to 12 seconds from 30 seconds. Huge reduction in duration. You have to really be able to throw these down in an area. Yeah, this is a good change in general. It prevents abuse in PvP. If it was like 30 seconds, you could literally tell 20 people, hey, throw caltrops in here, stack them all on top of each other, and they all stack, and you instantly take 20k damage trying to get through caltrops. And it lasts for 30 seconds. That's dumb. And then you get your stamina back within 30 seconds, you can do it all over again. And you hit a siege in the caltrops that snares them. Just poor choice. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 50%. Okay, increase the damage of this ability and its morphs by approximately 75%. So increased damage, that's crazy. It reduced cost. Argonian changes, Redguard changes. Talked about those before. Front-loaded CP changes. We've talked about this before. It's more to invest initially than it is like to get towards the end. So more balanced CP loading is going to make sense unless you're going to really specialize like a ganker or a healer, investing more that way. Really making the CP tree more interesting for builds. It makes builds more interesting to be able to do this. It's very cool. More CP stuff. Not going to go into this too much. We've already talked about this before. Yeah. I think that's it. So, I know this is longer. I know there are a lot of changes. I wanted to get through everything because I feel like having the information for everybody and talking about everything so that if something goes wrong or if something is imbalanced, we can just address it and say, hey, this wasn't a good change. And then go back and they can address it retroactively or whatever, like the next time. I think that's good stuff. The more informed the community is, the better. The more informed you are with all these changes, the better off you will be in creating your builds, making the game more fun. Because nobody wants to spend 3 weeks working on a build and struggling and getting your ass whooped. And hopefully I do what I can to provide you guys information to prevent that from happening. So hopefully this is informative. Hopefully this helps you guys. Yeah. I'm going to leave it at that. 40 minutes. Enjoy the long-winded video. Hopefully you have headphones while you're at work. Hopefully it was worth it. So have a good day.